We've been in the French Quarter all of 5 minutes, and yeah, it's a party. It's pretty loud down there. So, looks like a good time. Alright guys, we made it to the French Quarter, or the Vieux Carré as they call it, and we're on Bourbon Street. And you might think it's named for that wonderful drink, but no, this street is actually older than that drink. It's named after a royal family in France, and we're here to have some fun here, so stay posted. Hey guys, I know it's a little dark, middle of the night. We made it to the Absinthe House, a very old famous bar that's supposed to be haunted by the ghost of John Lafitte, a guy who helped us win the War of 1812, and also known for, of course, absinthe. Now absinthe, that's the drink that makes you hallucinate, right? Well, I don't know, but I've got an absinthe frappe, No, but it's just a good drink. Yep, I don't see any ghosts, but I definitely found some spirits. Because that ghost is supposed to be here, but I ain't seen them. Must be too busy for them. We fought the crowds to find something of historical and local value. Voodoo shop. Alright, so first night, as you can tell, real awake down there. I had a whole big story attached to each place we were going to go. For Marie Laevau's, I mean, it's named after the voodoo queen is what they call her, and we went to the Absinthe House. That's where John Lafitte is supposed to haunt. He had a meeting with Andrew Jackson there and helped in the War of 1812. I was going to say all that out there, but you probably didn't hear any of that because it's a party. Yeah, I had a bit of absinthe there, didn't hallucinate. Had a giant slice of beautiful pizza. Some guy tried to sell me cocaine. There was a wall of 7 people grinding on each other. Real good time. There's also a bunch of 7-year-olds who are really good at drumming on buckets, so that's good. Hopefully tomorrow when we experience the daytime and get off Bourbon Street for a bit, we'll get a little history and a little less party because, 26. Don't have much party left in me. Kind of looks like the street has a hangover.
Alright, we're gonna finish it out with some metal, baby. We might need to do a little AC/DC if I still feel like I got it in me.
On a tour, goes to vampire tour, he gets quote-unquote anti-vampire.
And she's half her heart down a square. And my friends, it is the most sacred ground in this city. It was sacred before there even was a New Orleans. That's where your Homa tribe of Native Americans used to come to perform rituals for the harvest, to give thanks for the harvest. Definitely sacred ground for these folks. 1718, the city of New Orleans is established. 1719, your first Africans are forcibly uprooted from their homes, put aboard these crowded, dirty, disease-ridden boats, and brought to New Orleans to become slaves. Over the course of the next 10 years, a documented 6,000 people brought to New Orleans, though I suspect it was more. Of those documented 6,000, 4,000 survived the journey. 1724, something called Code Noir is established. Part of Code Noir states that slaves are to be given Sundays and holidays off. Don't think of this as slavery light. It was anything but. But slaves are given Sundays and holidays. And on those days, they're going to come right over here to hold open-air markets under the French and Spanish systems in hopes of earning the money to buy their freedom. Well, along with these markets, you're going to get traditional African music. Now that is going to evolve into jazz and all kinds of other stuff. Traditional African dance. That's going to evolve into our second lines and our Mardi Gras Indian traditions. That's also where food's experimented with, folks. That's where gumbo and jambalaya are born. So this is the heart of culture for the city of New Orleans. And if you're thinking of this as a heart, so Lafitte's blacksmith shop. So here's the deal. You're probably going to go in there, look around, think, dude, this place is really damn small for a forge. Who wants heat hot enough to melt metal in this itty-bitty building in August in New Orleans? The correct answer is not a damn soul. Okay, it became a blacksmith shop during Prohibition. Alright, so we are a city that only paid lip service to Prohibition. Alright, 1920s, there was this famous reporter. He used to brag he could find alcohol in any city in the country in under an hour. His record fastest time? Here, 32 seconds. This man gets off his train, He gets into his cab. He asks the cab driver, hey buddy, you tell me where I can get a drink? Cab driver says, oh hell, I got a bottle of whiskey right here. Just hands it back to him. So, yeah, we have always been that kind of city. I'm gonna give you guys about 10 minutes to use the restroom, grab something to drink. You got a couple of options. Right here behind you is Lafitte's Hotel and Lounge. They got
Stop by Lafitte's blacksmith shop because it's supposed to be haunted. And yeah, the only thing this place is haunted with is the spirits resting in the bellies of the many drunk customers. No ghosts here. It's a blacksmith bar full of spirits. No ghosts.
a fan of a show called The Originals, you are going to recognize the house.
I don't know the entire script. But the originals do shoot here a lot. That's a lot of the originals.
Originals fans at? Do y'all recognize this house? Okay, so the producers of that show paid the owners of this house quite a lot of money to use it for filming. Part of the reason is because of the story that I have for you guys today. Now, it also involves Anne Rice. It includes her inspiration for the character Lestat. Let's make sure this gentleman's group has plenty of room to get by us.
I was hoping we were going to cover Lestat.
Oh, yeah. So, 1901 is when we are told that a fellow by the name of Jacques Saint Germain bought this place. Jacques claimed to be a descendant of the legendary Comte de Saint Germain, who served on Louis XV's court. Now, if you have never heard of this man, look him up. He might be one of the most interesting people to ever live. Okay, we'll wait for the loud to pass because we got somebody, one of the most interesting men to ever live. First of all, this man spoke 15 languages. Second of all, it was said that if you put a musical instrument in front of this guy, he could play it like a virtuoso. We actually have quite a lot of information to back that up. We've got him playing harpsichord for a bunch of dignitaries in Edinburgh the night before the Battle of Culloden. We have him playing violin and cello all over France, Spain, and Italy. He even had a piece of music on display at the Royal Museum in London. At the very least, this man was a prolific musician. On top of that, he's often referred to as a master conversationalist. Doesn't matter what the subject is. This guy seems to know everything about everything, from math to art to philosophy to science. Hung out with some very famous people. Casanova wrote about this man. Casanova said, throughout the entire meal, my guest did not touch his food. He simply continued to talk from beginning to end.
Annoying.
I followed his lead in a single regard as I was too enthralled by what he had to say to eat. It can safely be said that as a conversationalist, Le Comte de Saint Germain is unrivaled. Goes on further to call this guy, quote, a musician, a linguist, a scholar, and get this, y'all, this is from the Casanova, referred to him as the perfect ladies' man. That said, Casanova couldn't stand him. Didn't fare any better with Voltaire. Voltaire hated him too, sarcastically referring to him as the Wonder Man. He said, though I age, the Count of Saint Germain appears to be forever 45. He is the Wonder Man, he who knows everything and doesn't die. Well, not to take anything away from our boy Jacques, we're told he was fascinating too. He's about 45, spoke 15 languages. On top of this, he could play any musical instrument you put in front of him. That's a real easy way to make friends here. Furthermore, he is often referred to as the most knowledgeable man in the room. Doesn't matter what the subject is. Jacques seems to know everything about everything, from math to art to philosophy to science, throws these big, lavish parties. But y'all gotta keep in mind, he's not throwing them for the rich. He ain't like Delphine Lalaurie down the street. He's throwing these for people he finds interesting. One night, it might be a bunch of musicians and artists. Next night, it might be gamblers and prostitutes. Night after that, it might be a big old bash for the NOPD. It's anybody's ball game with this guy. So, has these things catered by Antoine's, right? Oldest restaurant in the city? Well, he has never seen eating any of the food. I don't know how much y'all know about us here in New Orleans, but we're quite proud of our food. And for good reason, it's delicious. You don't try the food, we're giving you dirty looks, end of story. So you got people coming up to him saying, man, what's the matter with you? Why are you not eating the oysters Rockefeller, dude? This is good stuff. And Jacques would say, oh, my friends, I ate before you came. I bought all of these for you. Indulge, overindulge, enjoy yourselves. Also gets a bunch of top shelf booze for these parties, right? Never seen drinking it. He's just walking around with his little bottle of wine. And you want to know another way to get dirty looks from us? Get picky about your booze. That'll do it fast. Now, his wine, on the other hand. Y'all know that thing you didn't know you wanted till your friend had it and wouldn't share? Now you kind of have to have it. That's his wine at these parties. You got people coming up with empty glasses trying to get a sip. And Jacques would say, oh, no, my friend. This is one of only 24 bottles in existence. It is from a family vineyard in France that was burned down 15 years ago. I mean you no offense, my friends, but once this is gone, there is no more. I cannot share this with you. Well, people leave him alone after that, right? That's a real good excuse not to share your wine. But in the middle of all this partying, a 19-year-old girl shows up at Charity Hospital. She's got a broken left leg. She's got a bite mark on her neck. She's got a bite mark on her wrist, and she's incredibly reluctant to tell anyone what happened. In fact, for the first 10 hours, this girl doesn't say a word to a soul. And she finally starts talking about what happened that night. Said she was hanging out with a group of friends, having a couple of drinks. They run into a group of guys, one of whom is a charming older gentleman by the name of Jacques. Now, she's not quite certain how it happened. One minute, they're having a couple of drinks, having a great conversation. About 4 drinks later, they're back here to get to know each other a little better. Now, she was admiring a painting on the wall of the upstairs bedroom. That's when she says that Jacques rushes across the room at superhuman speed, grabs her with inhuman strength, bites her neck, bites her wrist. Suddenly there's a knock at the door. It's just enough of a distraction for her to get away. She comes out the back window overlooking Ursuline Street, says her aim is to come down the support pole for the gallery. But she's intoxicated, she's in shock. She gets tripped up over that guardrail, falls into Ursuline Street on an outstretched left leg and lands on her heel. Given the nature of her injuries, given her reluctance to tell her story, cops have to talk to Jacques whether they want to or not. They knock on that door. As always, he answers. They say, hey, buddy, listen, we got a lady at Charity Hospital with an interesting story. Gonna have to talk to you. Jacques says, my friends, I am drunk. I cannot possibly hold this conversation right now. But I promise you, first thing in the morning, I shall come to your police station and we shall sort through this together. Now, these guys know Jacques. They're at all of his parties. They trust him. So their response is, all right.
You guys got the best tour guide in New Orleans.
Yes!
Yeah, let them talk.
Oh, yeah. Well, people from Chicago, they were on my tour the other night. Yeah. So, like I said, they know Jacques, they trust Jacques. So their response to him is, all right, good night, pal. Don't fall up the stairs on your way to bed, you drunk bastard. Next morning, 10 o'clock, of course, there's no Jacques. 12 o'clock, of course, there's no Jacques. 2 o'clock, they knock on that door, and for the first time ever, there is no answer. They knock 3 times before trying that door, which to their amazement is unlocked. And further to their surprise, there ain't a stick of furniture in the whole damn house. Normally, this place is floor-to-ceiling, plush, beautiful old antiques. Only things found in the house on that day were found in the kitchen in the very back of the house, where they found 3 bottles of Jacques' famous red wine. My friends, these are New Orleans cops we're talking about. They've got 3 bottles of the forbidden fruit sitting in front of them. They have a great reason to take it, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere, not that that phrase has ever meant a damn thing here. So one of those cops nudges the other one, says, hey, we just found 2 bottles, right? yeah, just 2. Here, let me get the corkscrew. So as they're going to try to open this bottle of wine, Officer Butterfingers drops it in the floor. Bottle shatters. They notice that this particular vintage has a rather strong bouquet of copper. They notice the wine isn't pooling like wine at all. It's pooling like blood, and it's starting to separate. Turns out the mixture in these bottles is 80% blood, 20% absinthe. Why the absinthe, you ask? High alcohol content. Acts as an anticoagulant. This way he can sip it at his leisure. He doesn't have to worry about it getting gummy on him. Well, let's go back to that famous ancestor, shall we? Friends, the Count of Saint Germain had no descendants whatsoever. Remember that very weird thing I was telling you I had first-hand accounts for? Well, it turns out, after he served on Louis XV's court, the Count of St. Germain moved to St. Petersburg, Russia, served on the court of Catherine the Great. From there, he retires to the small town of Zweibrück in Germany, where his death certificate tells us he died in 1784. But according to Anton Mesmer, father of modern-day hypnotism, he met and befriended the Count of St. Germain in 1787, then spent the next 3 years studying the secrets of personal magnetism from this man. A year after all of that, this is 7 years after the Count of St. Germain supposedly kicked the bucket, the Masonic Hall in Hamburg lists him as a keynote speaker for one of their events. 5 years after that, this is 12 years after he supposedly died, a younger man well acquainted with the Count of St. Germain claimed to see what had to have been the man himself running around London playing violin on various different stages under an assumed name. My friends, you would have similar incidents to that one all over Europe for the next 30 years. This man popped up in Madrid, Lisbon, Portugal, Vienna, Austria, Venice, Rome, Prague. Point is, we don't know what happened to this man. It's a mystery to this day. So, of course, after Jacques' secret's let out, we're told he leaves town. Don't ever hear from him again. But around 1980, a fella pops up in Paris, France, by the name of Richard Chanfray. Et Monsieur Chanfray, il est très intéressant. He's about 45 years of age, he speaks 15 languages, can play any instrument you put in front of him, seems to know everything about everything, also claims to be a descendant of the Count of St. Germain, and this is the freaky bit. If you take this guy's music industry headshot, and you put it side by side with the one portrait that we have of the Count of St. Germain, the resemblance is uncanny. Now, he also claims to be able to pull a trick that the Count of St. Germain often claimed to be able to pull. The alchemical trick of turning lead into gold. But the night before he's supposed to go on television in Paris and prove he can do it, a friend of his goes to his apartment, finds a note on the table. He's gone off to kill himself, and goodbye, cruel world, and once again, we're left without a body. So friends, if in your travels you run into a fellow about 45 years of age, speaks a bunch of different languages, plays a bunch of different instruments, and seems to know everything about everything, beware your guest. Any questions?
What was his name?
This place is called Muriel, and it is reportedly haunted by a former owner who lost the deed to a poker game, and well, he wasn't cool with that, so he still haunts the second floor to this day. I think it was the second floor. Throw stuff around, all poltergeist-like. We made it to the one stop Amanda was adamant about, the Museum of Death. They probably won't let me film in here, but looks cool. Well, that was morbid. She loved it.